Hey, everyone. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome. Listen, I am so excited about today's live discussion. Listen, I am your vision coach, Latoya Early. I am also the founder of Chase Gray University. We are a niche coaching certification company for Christian coaches where we help you align your life's purpose with your coaching message so that you can generate profit without compromising your kingdom assignment. But listen, I am not here to talk about coaching certifications, okay? I am not here to talk about niche marketing. I am not here to talk about how to grow your business. We are going to talk all things leadership, okay? All things leadership. And I'm so excited because I got my girl back with me. We came and chopped it up a little bit a couple weeks back, but I am so glad to bring back Southfield Chamber of Commerce executive director Jasmine Patton. She's going to come in and we're just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the different core strengths of a CEO minded leader. So do me a favor, go ahead and bring in your leaders, your peers, your colleagues, your employees. Go ahead and tag them in this broadcast because we're going to go ahead and we're going to make some things happen on today. We're going to change it up a little bit and we're going to take a deeper dive into really getting clarity on some characteristics of leadership that you want to know as a leader, especially if you are leading a team, if you're growing an organization. Listen, if you are the head of an organization, there are so many characteristics that we're going to talk about on today. So do me a favor, if you are joining us, I want you to go ahead and let us know in the comments that you are joining us. Say hello, say hey. I want you guys to talk back to us, okay? This is not a time for you guys to just sit back. Now, some of you may be cooking dinner. You may be on your commute home. You may just be sitting and you just may be relaxing after work. Whatever it is that you're doing, I want you guys to interact with us. I don't want us to just be doing this, just be talking to each other. Right? We want to interact with you as well. So, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest. I'm excited. I don't even want to call her a guest, especially when it comes to Chase Great. Listen, she's been rocking with Chase Great since day one. And so I'm just so glad to have her a part of what we're doing and being a part of what she is doing over at the Southfield Chamber of Commerce. And I'm just excited that I get to have this discussion with her on today. So I'm going to mute myself and allow Jasmine to come in, say hello, introduce herself, and whatever additional ads she would like to share about today's conversation.
Well, hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Patton, and one of the titles that I wear is the Executive Director for the Southfield Area Chamber of Commerce. But I'm a connector, a communicator, and overall people person. I'm excited to be on the call and to discuss CEO leadership.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have this discussion because a lot of times when you are in entrepreneurship, you're kind of separated from the corporate world, right? You're really separated from the corporate world, but you're not separated from people, right? You're not separated from whether or not you're leading your own organization or whether or not you're working with your own team. You still have some of the characteristics that we're going to talk about. You still have need for some of these characteristics. So Jasmine, before we start talking about core strengths and the core strengths of a CEO minded leader, I want to hear about you and about your direction and leadership. What are some of your core values when it comes to standing out and really being a leader, especially, listen, especially in the position that you're in, being the leader per se, over the entire membership, over the entire body. What does that look like for you? And what are some of your core ideas when it comes to leadership?
So personally, I think that one of the areas that I've really learned to adapt and now have excelled in some ways is just adaptability. My personality has always been that way at its core, and just dealing with, of course, like we all have, between the changes with COVID, the changes in the way that we connect, the changes in a lot of the topics that people are gravitating towards in leadership and wanting to be a part of. Um, really being adaptable, being able to make quick decisions has also been a core strength, and something that I've been able to lean into a lot more in being in this role, and really enhancing my listening skills. So I think listening to the needs of the individuals that you're serving or the community that you're serving in. I'm definitely a servant leader, and I think it's important to find your sweet spot. And I've been able to identify what some of those areas are for myself and help others really hone in on what that area is for themselves as well.
I totally agree. I think that especially with how you're able to serve the members and how like the way that you seamlessly maneuver through the many events that you go to. I'm telling you, every time I turn around, Jazz is posting that she's at another event. She's like, I'm here, I'm doing this. And just watching you interact with people, watching how you do so well with bringing together the room, bringing together people. When we talk about leadership, it's so funny when as Jazz and I were preparing for tonight, I had created a theme topic, and she's like, I don't know what that means. Right? She's like, no, that's not good. So I'm creating these topics because I'm trying to find a way to identify or talk to the leader who is struggling with old habits of a leader. Right. I just worked with a client recently, and we went through Chase Great's leadership workshop, her and an assistant that she had. And
Mhm.
it's so funny when we were talking about, the different characteristics and traits of a leader. One of the things that she shared with me, that she was a little afraid of stepping into this ownership of business and this new level of leadership. And so I'm like, why? What's the hesitation for you? And you know what she said? She told me that the idea that she has of a leader, she doesn't believe that she fit the qualities or the qualifications of what that leader is, right?
Mm.
Or what traditionally leadership looks like, right? So I'm sharing that with you because the topic that I had that I wanted to talk about was talking about the outdated leadership skills. Like, why is it that it's so hard for here's what I see. And Jazz, tell me if you see this as well. I see a huge gap between our generation and the generations before us, right? The way that we work in our businesses and our organizations with our team members, and you and I have talked about this as well. The way that we work with our organizations and our teams don't look like it did when we were watching the leaders before us, right?
Mhm.
It was a dictatorship, right? It was like a huge, I'm the boss, I'm inferior or superior rather, and I'm the one to come in and tell you what to do per se. I believe there's been a huge shift, not just in the age gaps, but I believe there's been a huge shift in the mindset of leaders today, growing leaders, evolving leaders, and the leaders that we once had, right? And so, one of the things that I shared with her, I began to help her identify new characteristics that she wanted to bring into her definition of leadership so that we can redesign what she saw in leaders, right? And so when you talked about, some of the characteristics that you look for in leaders and some of the characteristics that you look for as you are meeting new people and connecting with new people, it just makes me think about our generation and how we are trying to be different, right? It would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's a difference, but I I really approach when I'm talking to people and meeting people that there's a leader in everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, some will lead you astray, right? Some will lead you to where you're trying to be. So I think that if we all kind of have that mindset and just meeting people where they are, and then recognizing the leader that we're able to kind of pull from, and it's just like any other material, whether you're reading something, listening to something, meeting someone for the first time, or someone that you knew for a long time, there are different phases as we evolve as human beings, as leaders, that I think are really important to kind of just pull what you need in that moment from that person and just find a way to authentically connect.
Yeah.
And sometimes that connection may not look like, a connection at that time, and you circle back, 5, 10 years later, and there is a stronger connection. So I just think I try to really be present, whatever I'm doing and whoever I'm around. And then from there, figure out what the best path is while I'm listening and while I'm kind of leaning into whatever it is that I'm working on and my goals at that moment. So I don't think there's really a fixed answer in
Hmm.
terms of what a leader looks like, because I've seen some really great characteristics and some unconventional personalities before. And I appreciate those even more because it's kind of the secret sauce that you weren't expecting, that you can kind of glean from and take some of those nuggets and place them into your own leadership style.
No, I absolutely agree. 1000%. I'm glad that you said that you believe that there's a leader in everyone. It's so funny. I
Mhm.
did a show with a good friend of Chase Greats, and we were talking about leadership, and we were talking about whether or not a person is born with the attributes or with the characteristics of a leader. And I believe that everyone has some sort of leadership in them. And like you said,
Mhm.
now where you're leading me, that may be one thing, but I
Right.
do believe that we all have those characteristics. And so as we talk about, leaders who are in organizations, when we talk about leaders who are establishing themselves in the executive chair, within their organization or within their business, I really wanted to just kind of highlight a few characteristics that from doing the trainings that I've been doing with leaders, it has just been such an amazing experience to see the different characteristics of the amazing leaders that I'm connected to. And so I
Mm.
want to talk about some of those characteristics because we'll be live in person at the Southfield location on, is it next Thursday?
Uh, next, no,
Is
no,
it is
next
March
Thursday.
30th? Oh my God.
It's March 30th. It is March 30th. So it will not this Thursday, next Thursday on March
I
30th.
I don't I don't know if I was ready for that. I don't think I think we got to this date relatively fast.
Hmm.
Okay. So I definitely wasn't thinking that our in-person event is next Thursday. Is March 30th. And so we're doing business and brunch at the
Hmm.
Southfield Chamber location. The link is in the caption. So we want you guys to join us in the building. We're going to talk in person and we're going to talk about some of the characteristics that we're going to talk about tonight. But I also want to introduce an amazing resource and tool that we use in our leadership training that really helps you not only, I don't want to say it helps you discover, but it helps you confirm some of your characteristics. Would you say that, Jess?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and I mean, I've used it, right? So I've used the tool and I can speak from my experience. So some things I definitely think are confirmation, but I do think that it helps to peel back layers.
Yeah,
It
that
really
part.
helps to reveal things that you may know, but how that connects to the things that you didn't know. And then it really helps to create this full picture of who you are at your core as a leader and what your strengths are and what are the areas that you really could, enhance or focus a little bit more on in order to get to the next level. So I think it's a great tool and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny when I first used the tool, I laugh all the time when I say this because a lot of times I thought that it was something wrong with me, right?
Mhm.
When I look at, some of the characteristics that I bring to the table as a business owner, whether or not I'm running the business or whether I'm just out at the grocery store, and some of the areas that this tool has allowed me to, it gave me kind of a sense of, it kind of boosted my confidence because it
Mhm.
made me feel like, wow, this is really who I am. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer, right? We don't necessarily want to use this tool like it's our end all to be all, but this tool has been such a great resource when it comes to leadership development, because as Jasmine just said, it allowed me to see pieces and parts of me that, number one, may have been insecure about, and then number two, areas that I was able to really kind of grow in, right? So it was like, okay, I know this about me, and now I'm able to not only grow in this area, but I'm able to truly implement some of these new characteristics that I've discovered about myself and be proud about it and be
Mhm.
confident about it, right? So one thing we talked about before we jumped on with you guys, we were talking about the mindset characteristic. When you think of mindset for a leader, what do you think are characteristics or a good thought process for leaders, especially leaders who are developing themselves to be in that CEO or just an executive suite position in general? What would you say that mindset should look like?
Um, I would say definitely someone who's open-minded. You have to be open-minded to really receive whatever the ideas that are coming to you from your team or those that you're trusting and building a core and a relationship to evolve and to really get to the goal that you're trying to accomplish together. Strategic, being a strategic um, thinker, someone that is willing to think outside the box. We all kind of know what those ideals are, right? Like I could say a bunch of key phrases and everyone will say, "Okay, yep, I heard that before." But I think the reality of really honing it in and bringing it together is really looking at, okay, what do all of these pieces mean? And how can I leverage some of these pieces into actually accomplishing my goals? So you can hear a lot of the keywords. You could be around people that you think have it all figured out and they don't, right? And really trying to identify what you figured out, what you're missing, and then figuring out what it looks like in terms of building your community to help you accomplish a goal of the missing pieces. Those are the connecting points that we're talking about today. So it's not just another test or quiz to tell you more things about yourself. It really is a tool that helps to connect the dots and the gaps of the areas that you may not have thought of and the areas that you know, but you didn't really know how to use it to your advantage, and going to the next level. And then really looking at the pieces of who's missing in your core circle and on your team and the characteristics that you really should be looking for in order to compile a team that is moving in the right direction. So the piece that I really love about this tool is the filling in the gaps, is the identifying your strengths, but then also what do you do with those strengths once you identify them? And this system takes you that step further. So it helps you to look at your core strengths, obviously, right? That's the name of the system. But it also takes a look at, okay, now that you understand what type of leader you are, what are some tools that you should be using in email? How should you communicate now that you've identified the type of leader that you are? What other tools are important? Who's missing? That's a part of your team. What other areas can you develop in? How they can help you to kind of transition into understanding and growing in those areas as well. So I just think, we all can kind of name a system that has helped give us an additional nugget to who we are and how we show up in our working worlds. But I think this tool in particular for me helped me to really peel back the layers of the onion in terms of my leadership style at work, but also at home and as an individual. what the tools that I'm able to kind of step away and lean into, and also who's missing in that circle. So it really gave me a complete look at my entire ecosystem. And that is something that is so necessary for someone who is working in an environment where you're building relationships as the core foundation to almost everything that you do and how you show up in a space to serve others. So I was really impressed, and I'm hoping to lean into it a bit more, because even the things that I feel like are areas that I hadn't really thought about, it made me excited to want to explore those areas deeper.
No, absolutely. One of the things that stood out when you talked about using the tool and applying it to your current role as a leader, when we talk about those different characteristics, and one of the characteristics that we're focusing on right now was the whole mindset piece. But one of
Mhm.
the things that Jazz just brought up is how this assessment or this tool, I don't like to call it an assessment, you guys, because we're so conditioned to, the different personality, and I'm sure that many of you have heard of disc, and I can't even think that, I don't know why I have a hard time naming off other assessments that I've taken over the course of years. But when I took this particular use this particular tool, and I like to call it a tool because this is the very first tool that really helped me in my business, right? It helped me in my business, it helped me in my organization. And so when we talk about the mindset piece, one of the things that this tool really helps you do is it involves other people, right? When we talk about leadership, one of the things that you don't want to do as a leader is have a limited mindset. You want to be able to pull on other people who are stronger than you in certain areas, who possess a certain skill, or possess a certain quality that's going to help the overall team reach their goal. And so using this resource and implementing this training, it not only helps you see that from a different lens or from a different perspective, but as Jazz just said, it'll help you implement it not just in your business, but in your personal life, right? It's
Yeah.
funny. When the leader that introduced this resource to me, her name is Jasmine as well. Y'all know Jazz. She on here with me all the time. So it's so funny that I'm on here with Jasmine Patton, but our client success director name is Jasmine uh Pittman. So y'all
Mhm.
know I be all type of lost. I didn't call Jasmine, the other Jasmine, and all types of stuff. So anyway, she introduced the resource to me. She introduced the tool to me. She's been doing it for years in her organizations, and it's so funny that we used it. My husband and I took it, right? And
Mhm.
so it just cracks her up because she's like, "Oh, you're always triggering Demetrius. You're always triggering him, right?" And I just laugh because I do. But it was just such a confirming moment for both of us, right? Because it was like, really, this is really who I am. I'm not, you know, being this way to be disruptive. I'm being this way because this is who I am in my core. So not
Mhm.
only have I been able to apply this resource to my marriage, but I've been able to apply it to my business. And so this is one of the strengths behind this tool. This is one of the strengths behind just taking the approach to you know, go after wanting more in your role as a leader. So we've talked about mindset a little bit and how this tool definitely helps you shift your mindset. It definitely helps you remove the limits and the layers. It forces you to expound more in your organization and in your community. But one other thing that stands out with this tool is the strengths component, right? Now, I think I kind of threw Jazz off a little bit when she learned that she had 28 strengths, right?
Mhm.
You know how when we sit down and we're doing an assessment or we're doing something, and they ask, they'll say, list your top 3 strengths, list your top 5 strengths. You very rarely hear them say, list your 28 strengths. So
Mhm.
when you found out that you really have 28 strengths, now you may not use them all, right? But you did find out that you had 28 strengths, and just kind of looking at that within you, what type of adjustments did it provoke you to make in your life and in your roles?
Um, I don't know that it immediately caused an adjustment. I think it really just caused an awareness.
Okay.
And the more aware that I became, the more I wanted to kind of test,
Mhm.
out what certain things would look like
Mhm.
and ways that I could practice, some of the things that I recognized as a strength prior to, but I didn't necessarily connect the dots to something that was complementary, about elements of my personality. And then I think from that awareness and from that testing, then it was a process is what I'm wanting to emphasize. So it's not that, you get these results and you instantly are like, okay, cool. So I have this, roadmap and all I have to do is follow this
Mhm.
because life happens and we all kind of have to adjust and adapt according to. I mean, honestly, Latoya is the expert in the technicality of all pieces and all things when it comes to, using the tool. But I think the most important thing as someone that is a researcher, a reader,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
audiobook listener, a seminar taker, I lean into learning, right? I'm a life learner and it's something that I enjoy. So uh my takeaway really is okay, now what? Right. And that was a huge piece for me because I think sitting down with you, looking at this tool, getting the results, and then figuring out and now what is where most people are able to get stuck. Right. So it's one thing to read all this wonderful information and to gain this knowledge and have this insight. But if you're not sure what to do next, if you don't know where to find like minded people in order to foster and grow that mindset shifts or builds a community of people that will hold you accountable or people that you can actually lean into and having these sort of conversations, I think that's the missing gap that oftentimes you can learn your five love languages, your five work languages, you can learn all these things and make you more self-aware, but if you're not practicing them and actually around people that encourage that next level of awareness in your leadership style at home, at work, how you show up in this world, I think that those are the things that really make a difference. So we can certainly go on and on about the technical parts of learning about those strengths, but I think people really need to get the invitation to come and be a part of a community. And we're doing it fun. We're doing a brunch style. We're inviting people to come as they are to learn, to meet and greet, and to really be able to build a network in a way that's very intentional, but also very unique. And that's something that we specialize in at the Southfield Chamber, and I personally enjoy in the spaces that I curate.
Absolutely. Listen, if we have any local leaders who are joining us, make sure you say hello in the comments. I'm just so excited over here that we have a couple viewers on LinkedIn. We don't go live on LinkedIn very often. So that's like a big deal over here. So I'm excited to see that LinkedIn has actually that we have some viewers over on LinkedIn. And so for those of you who are joining us by way of Facebook, you're joining us by way of LinkedIn, or maybe you're even joining us on YouTube. We want to welcome you, welcome you, welcome you. My name is Latoya Early, and I am here with Jasmine Patton. She is the executive director of the Southfield Chamber of Commerce, and we're talking about leadership. We have so gracefully put together an event for leaders just like you on next Thursday, March 30th. And we want you guys in the building. We want to take this conversation and dive a lot deeper. And I really want to help you understand and introduce to you the tool that we use in our leadership training and development courses. So I want you to go ahead, click the link in the caption if you have not already. Go ahead and secure your seat, register, and join us for our business and brunch on next Thursday, March 30th, from is it 9 a.m. to 11, Jazz?
Mhm.
Cool, 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 cool. So we're gonna keep it going. We don't have too much time. Listen, y'all know me. I could talk, right? But Jazz be like, how long are we gonna do this? She like, excuse me, I have other things to do, right? So it's okay. So we're gonna keep the conversation going. So again, we're talking about, for those of you, let me give you a little bit of clarity. We're talking about leadership, and we're talking about a tool that we use here at Chase Great to help develop leaders, to help our leaders grow, to help our leaders really become who they desire to become in their role as a leader. Not only does it help you become a leader, but it helps you become a better leader. I love the piece. We talked about the strengths. One of the outcomes, or one of the results that you find out, is that you have 28 strengths as a leader. And so what we do is we focus on helping you bring up some of the strengths that you rarely use, so that you can really maximize your position and really help shift your culture within your organization. Something that I learned with using this tool that I love is, instead of us looking at our weaknesses, we would consider our strengths overdone strengths, right? So we don't look at them as weaknesses, we look at them as overdone strengths. What do I mean? So I'll use myself for an example, because I won't get mad at myself. One of my top strengths is risk taking. Right, I am a huge risk taker across the board. You guys know I just celebrated 8 years in full-time entrepreneurship. And
Mm,
that's definitely a risk, especially when I have three growing boys home. I don't know if y'all can hear them playing basketball in the basement. And then I have my husband. And so this has definitely been a huge risk for us. And it's funny because when that strength is overdone, it can be seen as abrasive or reckless. Right. And so, one of the things that we help you understand, or help you make the proper adjustments, is how do I keep that overdone strength, or how do I keep that strength from turning into an overdone strength where now I'm pushing away my team. Right, if
mm,
someone on my team, if Jazz and I are working, we've been working together on this project, and she's like, Latoya, you are just turning, it just seems so reckless. But to me, it's risk taking. How, as a leader and as a team member, how do we still work together cohesively to reach the overall result without triggering one another? Right, because one thing that you'll learn is you'll be able to learn what triggers you. And while risk taking is my strength, it could really be a trigger for Jasmine. And so, how do you cohesively move forward in an organization, on a team, without getting frustrated, without wanting to walk away? But how do you learn how to communicate? How do you learn how to step back and say, you know what, I know this is who I am, but because I'm a leader, I'm willing to adjust. I'm willing to approach this differently. I'm willing to change my perspective. I think that if leaders adapt this new idea of leadership, I really think it'll change the culture of organizations. I really do. So, Jazz, what can we look forward to on March 30th?
I just think it'll be a good time. I'm actually, events always kind of, I glean from the room. Who's in the room, what the needs are in the room, how the conversation is flowing, if there's awkwardness, if people are not, feeling as comfortable, how to make people feel more comfortable, what icebreakers we can, it's really a pivot and process, sort of setup. So our promise to the attendees is that we will, provide more insight into the core strengths tool, that we will, of course, highlight and talk about who we are as leaders, how we are intentional and serving and helping the individuals that will be able to participate. Having some good food and really making some great connections is what I'm looking forward to. This is a low pressure event.
Yes.
Um, it's really more about just getting like minded individuals together and making sure that we start to build out a community of more seekers who are looking to learn more about emotional intelligence, and that there is a local tool available in a warm and comforting atmosphere around other leaders in the Metro Detroit community that will help support you and give you tools that you need. And if we are not able to provide on site resources, really connect you to other tools that may be available. So I want everyone to feel welcome and be encouraged to come out to test it and see how they're feeling. It's a modest, in my opinion, investment for the contribution that we're looking to make and the impact that we believe it will have on those that are willing to attend. So I'm very excited and I'm looking forward to trying something different and doing something new under a chamber umbrella, and just seeing where we go from here. And that feedback is really member and community driven based on the needs of our members and our community that we serve, what we do next and how frequently we're able to do these sort of events and continue, partnerships like our partnership with Chase Great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm very much excited about the event, not just because of the amazing people that I'm gonna get the chance to network with, but again, we get the opportunity excuse me, to really introduce the core strengths tool to you and how you're able to
Mhm.
implement it into your business, how you're able to implement it into your organization. So if you are a leader in a corporate space, if you're a leader in your own business in your own right, or maybe you're still in the space where you're trying to develop those leadership characteristics so that you
Mhm.
can go after the promotion or you can start the business wherever you are, we want to invite you to join us on next Thursday. Now, I want to tell you this. This is going to be our business brunch and we're going to be in person. I'm excited about that because we have been behind the screens way too long. Um, but this is going to be a two-part training, right? So we want you to join us on March 30th so that you can get a feel, so that you can be introduced to this tool, and so that you can gain some good nuggets and meet some great people. But we're going to have a part two, and the part two is going to be a half-day workshop. Now, this half-day workshop, this is where you're going to really be able to take the training and apply it to self, right? So this is going to be the opportunity for you to go through the leadership training, complete your SDI. We're going to be able to go through that SDI and really go through some skills and some strategies on how to implement what we've discovered, what we've revealed, and what are some things we can do moving forward to help you become a better leader. How can we maximize this gift of leadership that you have, right? And so this is a two-part training. We invite you to March 30th. If you decide, you know what, Latoya, Jazz, I'm ready to take my leadership skill to the next level. I'm ready to learn how I can implement this within my organization. Listen, I want to take this tool to my organization because I believe that this tool will be fantastic with those a part of my organization. Then we want to see you on April 8th. We're doing our half day workshop. I mean, we'll talk more about that later, but I just kind of want to throw that out there to you that we're going to facilitate a full half day workshop so that you could truly get the training that you desire so that you can move forward. Now, I will say this because I've been getting this. If you are not in the metro area, you're like, Latoya, I want to take this leadership training, but I'm not in the metro area. I'm unable to join you at the Southfield location. We are going to introduce a virtual date so that those of you who are in our surrounding areas, those of you who just may be unable to join us on the 8th in person, we also have a virtual date available for you as well. And so I'm so glad for the leaders who've been reaching out to me, asking me about a virtual date. I really appreciate you for that. So we do have an in-person date. We have a virtual date. Make sure you join us on the 30th. For those of you who can in person, and let's go ahead and just change. Let's change the complete culture of leadership. Let's change the complete culture of our organizations. Let's redefine leadership and really serve people on a different level. I think that's what makes me so excited about this tool is because it really shows you how to be amazing to another person, right? Like um knowing Jazz, I've always known Jazz, but her doing this assessment, her taken this tool and implementing it in her current position as an executive director, it has just allowed me to see differently. It's allowed me to approach her differently. Even as we design this live, even as we've been designing the events moving forward. Listen, I've been able to communicate with her differently. I've been able to, respond and engage with her differently. Why? Because I'm understanding her differently. And I think that that matters. When we understand the people that we're working with, we show up different. So we're going to go ahead and close some things out. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, change the culture of leadership. That is what we are looking to do through this training. So make sure you get your ticket and join us on March 30th. Jazz, before we leave, do you have any final words to share?
No, I'm looking forward to well, yes. I said no, but yes. I'm looking forward to just connecting and just meeting other individuals, and I'm looking forward to just getting to know more of the community that's attached to this sort of thinking, and really seeing a shift. I'm looking for my own community, others that are like-minded. So there is personal investment and interest, and I hope that you feel the same. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. We're so used to learning about emotional intelligence in the workplace. We're so used to learning about, the basic communication styles. But what if we introduced relationship intelligence? What if
Mhm.
we taught you how to develop authentic relationships within your organization that is going to encourage you to communicate differently, engage differently, so that you can reach a different result? I
Mhm.
guarantee, I promise you guys, and y'all know I don't like to guarantee stuff because I cannot control what you do in your life. But if you come to this leadership training, I guarantee you it'll change the way you show up. Cool. So make sure you guys click the link in the caption. Join us on March 30th. For those of you who are not in the Metro Detroit area, don't worry. Be on the lookout. We have some literature going out, some graphics, some flyers, all that good stuff going out for the official 4 day. I'm sorry, not 4 day. Half day training in April. So make sure you are on the lookout for that. Outside of that, have a fantastic Tuesday and be blessed.